Independence Day, a great time for us to celebrate and to rejoice. There was a lot of rejoicing in Houma in my neighborhood. Sometimes I felt like the whole place was going to blow up. And yet we come together here. People are gathered at the beaches. We have had beautiful celebrations in the big cities, our nation's capital, and in the harbor around the Statue of Liberty, and throughout our country. And we have had wonderful celebrations with family and friends. And some of us enjoyed being quiet at home and just enjoying freedom of your own life and your own choosing. It's a wonderful time for us to celebrate. And this anniversary of 250 years since the Declaration of Independence, what a beautiful milestone for us. How we need this celebration to be able to renew us in spirit, to remind us who we are in this great nation, to be able to celebrate all that is right and that is good. This time of celebration is one that brings us back to our school years. We start thinking about all the happenings at that point, of how people came here seeking freedom, about how the folks here worked so hard to gather and to build a new life for themselves, feeling, many of them, that God had called them to this new land and that it was a new opportunity. And then they felt the burden of being neglected by a king that was indifferent. They felt the burden of being in a land that it seemed they couldn't speak and be honored and have a chance to represent themselves when there were accusations. They felt unjust taxes that were levied hard upon them without many blessings coming with those taxes. And so you see all the movement of the people, how the different colonies started and how they worked hard, but the abuses were there and they felt they had to stand up to that. And that a lot of groundwork went before they signed that Declaration of Independence. And I was doing my homework as I was preparing for this. Good old AI came to my rescue as I'm trying to refresh all my studies on this. But it's just fascinating when you look back and see how the people stood up and how the unjust governors were either they fled before they ended up in trouble in certain states, or they were deposed, and how the folks sent delegations of people over to the Second Continental Congress, and the bravery of those individuals to be able to draft that document to say that enough's enough, that we have not received our due and we are not treated fairly, and we need to stand up and to declare their independence, and how they had to work, through the different states. I was looking back and seeing how New York didn't ratify it till the 9th of July, and they had delegates were there, but they needed to come back to report, and that different people, different states, when they would send the delegates, if they weren't for independence, they would be removed by the local council, the government of that state, and brought back. But it was a whole process they went through to be able to get to the point to declare independence. Now, these folks knew the power of the King of England. And if you're from England and you know the history, when you go against the king, you're in trouble. Now, we had a big ocean between us, but those troops were in the land. And those people had the bravery to put their names down, representing their states, the people that had sent them there. And they had the authority to sign. And they signed it knowing there could be consequences. Many of them suffered consequences, having their houses and their homes burnt to the ground, having struggles and being arrested, a few of them, and dying as a result of the hardships they endured. But some of them ended up losing all of their fortune because of this bold move that they made. But they were strong enough to make it. And not only were they strong enough to make it, but that the whole country galvanized around them. And when you read your history, you realize that wasn't always really easy, how they had to rally around and how different times people would lose the heart to fight or to stand up, and they'd have to be nurtured back into it. And that the Declaration of Independence wasn't signed until 11 years after the Constitution wasn't signed till 11 years afterwards. And so it shows the journey that was there. They saw the injustices. They said, enough's enough, that we have a divine right to be free. And they pulled together. It's very beautiful. As we look and we see history today, we learn a lot of things about our founding fathers. And we learn that all of them were not perfect. They had many flaws. We see that later with the Constitution, where although that it demands that all people are created equal, that the slaves were not included into that, and surely not the Native Americans. And so we see that they had struggles that they needed to work on that were present in their own lives, like that beautiful reading that Joel read today from St. Paul, who talks about he's committed, but that he knows his own sinfulness. And his own sinfulness needs to be purified by the grace of God. It's about holding to the ideals and then allowing the grace of God to continue to call us to be the best we can be, to work on it. Today, our nation, 250 years later, is not a perfect nation, but isn't it a beautiful nation? Would you want to live anywhere else? Haven't we all felt the great joys of this kingdom and this land that we live? Don't we know the blessings we receive? It's beautiful. But we have to walk humbly with it as a sacred gift that's entrusted to us. And we see as we look through history the times that the United States as a government was not just to other people or to other lands. The many times that the treaties to the Native Americans were violated. The many times that we see the struggles with the slaves and how long it took to bring freedom from slavery. When we look and we see a lot of the struggles throughout the country, that sometimes we've done some really rotten stuff, just like the reading from St. Paul acknowledges that we might have things in our life that tempt us to do things that are not holy, not good, but that we need to call upon the grace of God. The gospel was beautiful today, and so was the first reading that Sharon read. It was in Zechariah. It said that the beautiful passage was talking about the humbleness. Your God will come to you riding a donkey. And he talks about he will be able to break the bow, and he will be able to as he comes, that he'll establish peace. It talks about God's will in that reading, and that God's going to double, because of your hope, because of your perseverance, God's going to give you double blessings. It's beautiful. It's a message for our country that those blessings are here, and we need to purify the things that are not holy, not good. And we need to keep our eyes on Jesus. Jesus speaks in today's gospel, and he says, "Come to me, you who are burdened, and you who carry heavy burdens. Come to me, learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart." I believe those words are spoken to all of us, to all the world. I think it's spoken to our nation, that Jesus says to our nation, "Come to me, learn from me, let this great blessing of this land be a gentle land. Let it be a land that walks humbly, like a riding the donkey, not the war horse. Let it be a nation that is able to purify itself. We know that, and later when we celebrate the anniversary of our Constitution, we're going to see that it's a living document that needs to, the wisdom of the fathers was to keep it as a living document that could be adapted and adjusted. It could be purified. And that's what our nation needs to constantly do. But we can't do it battling each other. And that's what's important. We can't do it with being angry. And I need to be reminded of that. Maybe you need to be reminded of that. But that the message of today is to say, count the blessings. Look what's holy. Preserve what is good. And let us hold to that. There's no need to be at odds with each other. We could accept the different views. We could allow the grace of God to be with us. We could let our faith guide our hearts and guide our communities and our nations. And we should always look to Jesus for both, to be able to see the one who gives life, freedom, and happiness. May God bless our USA. May He bless our brothers and sisters in Canada and Mexico, all the way down the line, all the way around the world, that we're all brothers and sisters, children of God, who rejoice, respect, and live in peace. May God's blessings be upon us and our nation. Amen.